Right, good evening and many thanks for joining us today here on KUTV Primetime News. Indeed, we have much and more lined up for you this particular evening, including our special discussion tonight, sobering up the mountain. Of course, we'll be talking about the rampant and the ever-increasing cases of drug abuse generally in Kenya, but to be more precise, in Mount Kenya, that have already caught the attention of political leaders. Remember, last week, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua held a consultative meetings with over 200 members of County Assembly just to deliberate on this matter. Of course, we'll be talking with one and only ex-Nakada, that is John Mutudo, to give us his highlight and insight of what is happening and why the war is not yet won. Of course, beside that, we have much and more that our reporters have been working on across the globe and, of course, here locally in the country. But first thing first, our top stories tonight. Another massacre. Pastor Ezekiel Odero New Life Prayer Center to spend night in police custody of alleged mass killings. Not the whole religion. Every bad seed to carry his or her own cross, says Dorcas Rigathi. Counties to get additional 15.4 billion from the National Treasurer as RUTH signs Revenue Allocation Bill of 2023. Also tonight, a house divided. Leadership wrangles continue to rock Jubilee Party. Sabina Chege and Kanini Kega to be recalled. Right, I'm not alone. I'm in the company of RUTH CHEPKOECH as my co-pilot tonight. Of course, I am your captain, AUMA Evans. Remember, you can follow this broadcast on all of our social media platforms, and we welcome your contribution and feedback on Facebook at KUTV Kenya, on Twitter at KUTV_Kenya, at AUMA Evans. That is my Twitter handle, and of course, remember the hashtag is always Primetime News. And now, Primetime News begins right away. The embattled Pastor Ezekiel Odero of New Life Center in Mavueni, Kilifi County will spend the night in police cell following his arrest today morning. Authorities are acting on leads to some deaths that are believed to have occurred at the church but were covered up. According to Coast Regional Commissioner Rhoda Onyancha, local morgues have confirmed receiving bodies from Odero's premises. In the meantime, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki says Ezekiel will be charged with mass killing of his followers. Pastor Ezekiel Odero was this morning turned in by the state over reported deaths at his New Life Prayer Center and Church, which is in Kilifi. The arrest was made after nearby morgue confirmed receiving bodies of dead people linked to the church which has since been closed.
This morning, we have arrested Pastor Ezekiel Ombok Odero of the New Prayer Center and Church at Mavueni in Kilifi County on allegations of the deaths that have been occurring at his premises and reported in various morgues or institutions.
This arrest comes hours after the evangelist was summoned alongside his wife and Edem by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations in Mombasa for allegedly advancing cult-like practices.
What I can call wild questioning. Fishing. When you try to fish, look for things that don't exist. That's what they were doing.
Detectives have been investigating claims that Pastor Ezekiel was pulling critical ill followers from hospitals to his church purportedly to perform healing miracles on them. There are reports that some of the patients could have died as a result of being denied medical attention as a result of preachers' action. Ezekiel's lawyer Jared Mogelo has however reaffirmed his client's innocence.
very concerned that the government has decided to shut Shakahola, all that place, and put a curfew for 30 days. What is the motive of the security to do such a thing like that? We suspect probably out of those graves, probably they are graves of alleged terrorists, which were buried maybe 2-3 years ago. Now, if they unearth and the DNA prove that these skeletons don't belong to the church, so it will raise a lot of questions.
Honorable Speaker, many lives have been lost in Shakahola, Kilifi County as a result of radical religious teachings by a controversial pastor named Paul Ndenge Mackenzie. It is reported that Pastor Ndenge Mackenzie, through his purportedly skewed radical religious teachings, has been manipulating and indoctrinating locals to undertake extended periods of fasting in order to meet Jesus.
Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination Professor Kithure Kindiki has also confirmed the arrest, adding that Ezekiel will be processed to face criminal charges related to mass killing of his followers. He added that some 100 people were also evacuated in the exercise and will be required to record a statement. All eyes will turn to the court where the case will play out. While many continue to ask difficult questions and, of course, heavy questions regarding the ongoing Makuevin probe, well, elsewhere, the second lady, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, has defended the church against critics in the ongoing probe into Shakahola mass deaths. Pastor Dorcas decried the condemnation of churches, saying that isolation cases like that of Pastor Paul Mackenzie need to be dealt with in accordance with the Constitution. Yvonne Kemuma reports on a day government pathologists kick off post-mortem exercise to ascertain the cause of Shakahola deaths.
Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, the wife to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has today shared her sentiments concerning the ongoing Shakahola saga, in which faithfuls are reported to have fasted to death, as advised by preacher Paul Mackenzie. Pastor Dorcas has termed Mackenzie as a criminal who should never be referred to as a preacher. She says Kenya is a law-abiding nation, and cases like that of Mackenzie should be dealt with as per the law.
Na kama kuna mharifu, sisi tunasema kama Paul Mackenzie ako na shida na amepatikana, huyo ni Paul Mackenzie. Hata mama yake asiingizwe kwa hiyo.
Pastor Dorcas was speaking at the House of Grace Church in Nairobi during a feeding program for over 300 widows from Kibera in Nairobi County.
Hata baba yake na familia yake haiko hapo, na kanisa la Bwana liachiliwe, kwa sababu huwezi kuchukua mtu mmoja na kwa sababu ulikuwa na mambo yako unaingiza maneno, unaanza kusema sijui makanisa ilifanya. Paul Mackenzie sio kanisa.
This comes as pathologists kick off the post-mortem operations on bodies recovered from Pastor Mackenzie's Shakahola forest land. So far, authorities have recovered 103 bodies as of the 7th day. Following the recent directive to bar the media from accessing Mackenzie's Shakahola land, where authorities continue to exhume more bodies, the Media Council of Kenya has today, through its official Twitter handle, Following the recent directive to bar the media from accessing Mackenzie's Shakahola land, where authorities continue to exhume more bodies, the Media Council of Kenya has today, through its official Twitter handle, expressed its concerns, saying that the move may open floodgates of misinformation, rumors, and confusion to the whole country. Yvonne Kemuma, KUTV.
All right, let's stay on that Shakahola story for a bit. Following an increased activities and membership of extremist occult religious organization in the country and the current recorded death toll of an apparent occultist religious group led by Paul Mackenzie Thenge, the Senate has resolved to establish an ad hoc committee to investigate the issues The 11 members have been appointed to serve in the committee and submit a report to the House within 90 days as Pastor distance themselves from Pastor Mackenzie's. Our very own James Muriki now reports.
In the Senate plenary afternoon session today, a list of the committee of senators that will investigate the circumstances that caused the death of the followers of the Good News International Church led by Paul Mackenzie in Shakahola was formed. The senators include Stewart Mazayo, Hilary Kiprotich, Tabitha Mutinda, Veronica Maina, William Kipkorol, Shakila Mohammed, David Wakoli, Aminda Kibwana, Richard Onyonka, and Abdul Aji. According to the information presented by Senate Speaker Amason Kingi, the committee will be responsible for performing the following duties: investigate the circumstances leading to the death of the followers of the Good News International Church, led by one Paul Mackenzie Ndenge, investigate the role played by one Paul Mackenzie of the Good News International Church, his pastoral team, and Kilifi County Security Committee in abetting the deaths of the followers of the Good News Church, established through the Office of the Registrar of Societies, the number and activities of religious groups in the country, including their registration and compliance status, audit the legal and registration framework for a religious organization in the country, and make any other recommendation that will prevent religious organizations from extreme indoctrination of their followers, including radicalization, spiritual and financial exploitation. Reacting to the Mackenzie occultic issue, pastors at the coast have now distanced themselves from the controversial Pastor Mackenzie, asking the relevant authorities to take serious legal action against him.
Case be treated as an isolated case. There are laws in this country that can actually be used and enforced to take action against Mr. Mackenzie and any other person that may use religion or the church to advance their heinous acts.
Ni kitu gani serikali inaficha ambacho hawataki mwananchi ajue? Hii mambo ya kusema kwamba waandishi wa habari wasiangazie vitu vinavyoendelea inatupatia kwamba kuna dosari. Pengine kuna kitu ambacho serikali inajaribu kuficha.
As the occultic controversial Pastor Paul Mackenzie awaits his court hearings, the court ad hoc committee is expected to submit a report within 90 days on the issue. James Mureki Mwenda, KUTV.
Now, on to good news to some counties. President William Ruto has today ascended to the Division of Revenue Bill for the year 2023-2024 at State House, Nairobi. The equitable share to counties has been increased by by 15.4 billion shillings. Now the new signings now pave way for the preparation of the annual expenditure estimated for the year 2023-2024. KUTV's Joseph Kess with more details.
President William Ruto has today appended his signature to the Division of Revenue Bill for the year 2023-2024, which will see counties receive an additional 15.4 billion shillings in the next financial year, from the current 370 billion to 385.4 billion shillings. In addition, the Equalization Fund has been allocated 8.3 billion shillings, an increase of 1.2 billion from the current financial year's allocation of 7.1 billion. The Equalization Fund is used to provide basic services, including water, roads, health facilities, and electricity to marginalized areas to the extent necessary to bring the quality of those services in those areas to the general level enjoyed by the rest of the nation. According to the allocation, devolved units will receive a further 11.1 billion shillings as additional allocations from the national government share of revenue. 33.2 billion has also been allocated additionally from proceeds of loans and grants. The allocation comes after the Senate passed the bill without amendments, after 25 senators voted to pass the bill, outnumbering their colleagues who were rooting for the 407 billion shillings allocation. The Council of Governors, led by Chairperson Anwar Guru, had faulted the Senate for what they say it has failed in its role to defend devolution after the legislators voted against the 407 billion allocation to the devolved units. The allocated amount is now set to be disbursed at a time when the county governments are threatening to shut down counties over a 4-month delay in fund disbursements to counties. The presidential ascension now paves way for the preparation of the annual expenditure estimates for the year 2023-2024. Joseph Kess, KUTV.
Following the leadership tug of war going on in Jubilee Party, the fate of East Africa Legislative Assembly, that is IALA Member of Parliament Kanini Kega and Deputy Minority Whip Sabina Chega, hangs in the balance after Jubilee's Vice Chairman David Murathe revealed plans to recall the two from the party for allegedly going against the party constitution and the law governing the political parties. While addressing the media, the vice chair claimed that if Kanini Kega and Sabina Chege have changed their parties, they have to resign from their position as they were elected through the Jubilee Party. In addition, Murathe also said that the party will initiate the process of revoking Sabina and Kega's nomination to the National and Regional Assembly. Now, President William Ruto has today attended the extraordinary summit of heads of states of the troops contributing countries to the East Africa Transition Mission in Somalia, which was held in Kampala, Uganda. The summit is being held to deliberate on the restoration of stability, security, and prosperity. Other heads of state who attended the summit include Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, Hassan Mohamad of Somali, Ismail Omar of Djibouti, Evariste Ndayishimiye of Burundi, and Ethiopia's Deputy Prime Minister Demeke Mekonnen.
The problem of Burundi, it was solved by East Africa. So this problem, the way we discussed today, I'm sure we can solve it.
Somalia is indebted and will remain grateful for the contribution and the sacrifices made by the troop contributing countries for the last 16 years, for almost now 16 years. We know this was based on a very big principle for us as Africans, African problems with African solutions.
Right, that's a good point to take our first break here on KUTV Primetime News. Remember, up next is that big discussion. It's all about sobering up the mountain. Of course, we'll be talking with former NACADA chairman, that is John Mutudo. Of course, much and many more to follow after that particular break that we'll be taking. But me, in the meantime, see you in a while.
Excuse me, what a surprise to see you, Papa.
We go way, way back. I will discuss this with you later, and with your mother, of course.
Nobody cares.
So what do you recommend as a starter, Zahara?
Hello, love.
What I want is for her to suffer. Make her suffer.
But just remember this. It's you who is tearing this entire family apart.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
possessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pipopa si vuguvugu. Pipopa ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na uasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Kurunzi ya kilimo kuimarisha afya na uchumi endelevu katika jamii ni msingi mkubwa wa kipindi Boresha Kilimo. Kipindi hiki kinajikita katika teknolojia ya kisasa, utafiti na ushirikishaji wa wadau wa kilimo kuonyesha shughuli mbalimbali shambani. Kwa suluhu ya utoshelevu wa chakula, tazama Boresha Kilimo.
To the CHEPKOECH show. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Terrence.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. And have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7 to
10 a.m. only on KUTV.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani swahibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalunukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
Right, welcome back, and we are glad you're watching KUTV Primetime News. Remember, you can chip in and give in your views and comment on all of our social media platforms. Remember, Facebook is KUTV Kenya, on Twitter at KUTV _ @AUMA, the hashtag to use, Primetime News. Now, moving on. Stakeholders in the education sector are now recommending that schools should consider deploying 2 drivers for buses for going long distances. The proposal comes against a background of increased road accidents involving school buses. The Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Kipchumba Murkomen, has already barred school buses from operating at night.
The frequency of road accidents involving buses has increased in the recent past, leaving a trail of deaths and fatalities in its wake. Some of the buses involved in the accidents include those belonging to institutions of learning. A case in hand is a Naivasha accident that killed 18 Pwani University students and left several others injured 4 weeks ago. Some remedial measures to accidents involving learners have been instituted. Education stakeholders, for instance, want schools to consider having 2 drivers per bus when students are out for long distances where a driver may get tired. Transport CS Kipchumba Murkomen has already directed school buses not to operate between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in line with the Traffic Amendment Act 2017. At the same time, all public service vehicles and commercial drivers will have to undergo fresh mandatory driving retest before renewing their licenses from June 1st, 2023. CS Murkomen also ordered that all trainee drivers will have to provide a medical certificate before the administration of the National Transport and Safety Authority NTSA driver test. According to the directives, learners using school buses or public transport will now be allocated their own seats to avoid sharing and carrying excess passengers. Murkomen emphasized that all unroadworthy vehicles will be removed from the public roads with immediate effect. On April 25th, NTSA suspended circles which have been involved in road accidents. These include Taita Taveta Circle, which was involved in an accident on April 15th that killed 10 people, Tamid Circle, where 4 people lost their lives, Team SWAT Logistics, and Kyoga Holiers Kenya Limited, in which 5 students died. RUTH, Wanjiru, KU TV.
Another 140 Kenyans have been evacuated from Sudan. The group arrived from Khartoum as part of 342 evacuees of different nationalities who work for various international organizations. The Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs facilitated evacuation of nationals and personnel of United Nations agencies, the diplomatic corps international, amidst the ongoing Sudan conflict between the Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former Deputy General Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who leads the powerful Rapid Support Forces private paramilitary groups.
Cabinet Small and Medium Enterprises Simon Chelgui, together with Roslyn Jogu, Principal Secretary for Diaspora Affairs, received 342 evacuees at JKIA International Airport last night from Khartoum, Sudan, while over 100 Kenyans are being ferried by bus today following the ongoing war between the Army Chief Gen Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and his former Deputy Gen Mohammed Hamdan Daglo, who leads the powerful Rapid Support Forces paramilitary group. Sudan's capital, Khartoum, is living through a shaky ceasefire after tensions arose during negotiations to integrate the RSF into the country's military as part of plans to restore civilian rule. The CS reiterated Kenya's commitment to ensuring the safe return of all that wish to return from Sudan to Kenya. A multi-agency team was created to facilitate entry, departure, transit, and movement of affected staff and dependents within Kenya. However, President William Ruto says he strongly believes that a peacefully negotiated solution to the conflict in Sudan is within reach as he continues to negotiate with IGAD representatives on matters evacuation of IGAD members. Salma Swaleh, KUTV.
Right, we take yet another short break here on KUTV Primetime News. Of course, when we come back, we'll be diving you direct into that discussion that we have all been waiting for. My goodness, what a day.
Technology, science, innovation, ICT and research. These are the ingredients upon which the solutions to the 21st century problems are founded. In a world that is rapidly changing, it's all hands on deck to ensure a balance in all fields of life. Women, young and old, are also in the front line, breaking the glass ceiling, becoming thought leaders in the larger tech space. Not forgetting other societies marginalized. And when the tech Avengers come together, we inch closer to a much safer, efficient, and sustainable world. What we view as a norm in today's advanced world was just an idea, and for nostalgic reasons, we trace back to the iconic days to bring you the retro tech. On Tech Innovation Show, we encapsulate all the pillars of the fourth industrial revolution, decoded in a language, all for one, one for all. Every Monday at 8:30 as we push the mantra, keep learning something new each and every day. Only on KUTV, a new experience.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahoda mwendesha chombo cha baharini yani. Ua linalunukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
To the Church Attraction. I'm your host Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Terror.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformation experience.
Good evening.
Have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki yani
Kindly unmute the mic.
Tune in because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi yani zitakuwa zina come through and pia performance yani from our gospel
Sorry?
on gospel
from 7 to
10.
Oh, all right.
On KUTV.
It's fine. We'll be joining you in a few. Just hold on. All right.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we are losing.
we need to go is a level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you'll find that it serves us a bit more than you put in. And that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found. Because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
All right, welcome back, and let's of course pick it from where we have left it. And we are following up this particular discussion, and it's also about sobering up the mountain. Now this story will form the background, or rather the basis of our discussion tonight. The fight against drug abuse in the country remains far from being won. Statistics from National Authority for Campaign Against Drug Abuse, that is NACADA, paints a grim picture of what the country is staring at, least immediately, unless, of course, immediate and urgent action is taken. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has today convened another consultative meeting on how to tackle alcoholism in central Kenya. The meeting, which was held at the Kenya School of Government, is a follow-up of similar meetings in Nyeri and another one hosted at his Iruri residence, which was attended by leaders from Central Region. Beryl Chelangat breaks down the worrying statistics that has caught the attention of leaders.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has today convened a consultative meeting at the Kenya School of Government with the name of tackling alcoholism in the Central Region. Statistics from the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcoholic and Drug Abuse, NACADA, show that the Central Region is leading in substance abuse. Speaking at the forum, the Deputy President expressed his regret that the youth in the region are often drunk and are no longer productive.
The people of this country, parents, are in tears. I can hardly go to the village because of the cry of our women, because they have lost their children. So the assemblies will do their bit. By the 30th of June, we'll have laws in the 5 counties, and good laws.
Following the order he had issued in Nyeri when he addressed the security official on a crackdown of illicit brews and substance abuse in the Central Region, the security officers in Murang'a County on Wednesday raided banks of River Chania and managed to seize and destroy more than 2,000 liters of illicit brews.
Njia ingine ambao tunatumia ni kama hii mumeona leo kufanya operation. Leo mumeona tumeweza kumwaga kangara zaidi ya lita 1,000 na chang'aa ambao tayari ilikuwa imeundwa tumeweza kumwaga kiasi ya zaidi ya lita 100.
While in Madira, the DP met with Central Region Member of County Assembly to discuss and form up the rules and regulation on how to curb abuse of drugs and illicit brews in the Central Region and in the country as a whole. The DP is said to curb this issue after the former governor of Kiambu, Ferdinand Waitito, also had a crackdown against illicit brew in the county, which unfortunately created bad blood between the governor and the bar operators.
And we are really discussing with them on how we can make uniform laws across the 5 counties to come up with very stringent rules and regulations to regulate the sale of alcohol, the issues of drugs, and indeed to come up with very stringent penalties.
The DP Gachagua insists that alcohol and substance abuse is a problem that is likely to impair the country's future if not addressed. Wilson Tobiko, KUTV.
Right, that story from Beryl Chelangat, of course, forms the basis of our discussion tonight. And now joining us live via Zoom is John Mutudo, the former NACADA chairman. Now we'll be taking a look at what is happening particular in the country, and to be more precise, in Mount Kenya. Good evening,
Good evening, viewers. How are you?
I'm so fine. And let me beam you into the heart of this discussion right away. Of course, drug abuse seems to be a crisis, of course, in this country. Now, this begs the question, just how dire is the situation in the country? Are we probably facing in someone like we should say drug abuse is now a national disaster?
Yes, it is, for sure. During the Central Kenya meeting I've just referred, the Deputy President accurately pointed out that there are three major challenges now in Kenya, or major things that need to be attended to. Number one being terrorism, number two being battery, and number three being drug and alcohol abuse. It's really a big challenge. I would have persuaded him to name alcohol and drug abuse as number one challenge, by the virtue fact of the numbers, high numbers and high mortality. Today I was in the Gashie area, and the pastor there was saying that he's barring an average of 4 at Gashie, someplace Gashie, 4 per week. All of them young people and young ladies. You are seeing ladies there transporting changa and other illicits on thermos. You think they're transporting chai or tea, and it's all very bad. I want to tell you, I do really appreciate what the government is trying to do, because the start of the journey begins with somebody making a will to go and will free, preparing to take a journey. But this is a tough journey. I've been on it for the last 15, 16 years, and I would like to advise the government to look at it this way so that the whole thing is not messy. Number one, look at it on the two fronts if you have to confront these drugs and alcohol. And the two fronts are supply suppression. Supply suppression, that means cutting off all the supplies. And number two is demand reduction, which means that you target the possible consumers and potential consumers, and you try to dissuade them or treat them from that vice. If you look at it at that front, then the government has a lot of options under supply suppression. One of the tools is the Mutuzo laws, and then there are a whole host of laws under the Public Health Act, on the penal code, also things that kill. There are a lot of things you can do. There are things which are tariff-based, others are non-tariff restrictions, which can all be set. I don't think it would be wise for us to boil ourselves down to arguing with bar owners and the rest of it, because places like Munich, last time I checked, it's quite a while now, had about 250, Munich city in Germany, had about 250 breweries, but nobody dies of alcohol abuse there. What we need is quality check. If you recall to the laws, which I really do thank Kenyans, and you in particular, for acknowledging the fine details of that law. It was supposed to generate 4 regulations. Number one was access. Access. That's why we did 300 meters from schools, for instance. The under 18 warnings on all alcoholic drinks, advertisements, and so forth and so on. Access. And then we came up to the licensing regime, and we were very reluctant on that until it was messed up by the county governments. If you look at it that way, access was well handled. Just needs a bit of revision, just to check and reconfirm certain elements. Like that time we had districts, now we have counties, so that you can tidy up those kind of little things.
All right. Let me cut you for a bit. When you talk about the Mutuzo law, of course, this is something we have been in this kind of situation for quite a long time. Of course, the law are there. One of the key things that it was meant to do was to regulate drinking hours, to control production and sales. it is 10 years down the line, same problem, things still persist. In your own opinion, of course, as a man who once sit on that particular seat, what do you think really, of course, contributed to the failure of these laws not working until right now we are here at this point now having this same discussion? What could have gone wrong?
Yes, I was saying that any good law starts from a policy, and there was a very well-drafted policy by Nakada and the government, and then you come to the bill, then the act of parliament, and then you have the law. The law cannot be implemented without regulations, and there were supposed to be 4 regulations. The 4 regulations were access. Number 2 regulation was quality of alcohol. Number 3 was on treatment of the victims and how it was going to be done. If you look at, let me zero on quality and tell you this, that the regulation on quality has never been published, arising from the Mutuzo laws. If the government, and I'm sure the Vice President is serious, Deputy President is serious about this issue, if we can ask me for a copy of the regulations pertaining to quality, then these problems can be solved. Because if you look at Western Kenya, for instance, by volume, they take more alcohol than Central Kenya. But Central Kenya deaths are in hundreds. In Western side, they don't die of Luzan, Chang'an there. So what is this that the Central people or the Mount Kenya people drink that kills them? That is poison. And that was properly addressed in the regulations that I'm talking about. So if Professor Saitoti was still around, and may he rest in peace, and also if all the other interior cabinet secretaries or ministers who followed were able to listen to me and just accept to gazette the regulation on quality, then there would be no issue at all. I can tell you for free, there would be no issue. Then there was the issue, the other regulation was on enforcement. Section 19 of Nakada Act and Section 50 of the Mutuzo laws provided explicitly how they were going to do the policy. It's not by every Dick, Tom, and Harry. Specialized unit that was well defined in that particular thing. Again, that regulation on enforcement was never gazetted. That means out of the 4, only the one on access was gazetted, and still needs a bit of amendment, fine-tuning, like I said. The one on treatment was not gazetted, the one on quality was not gazetted, and the one on enforcement was not gazetted. If only the Deputy President can ask his hard-working PS, Professor Kidiki, is a lawyer, to go through and check where are these regulations. What is this that's supposed to be done by who? All these problems can be sorted out. So it's not a question of how old the laws are, but it's a question of willingness by some individuals particularly, or who have been coerced not to gazette, I use the word coerced, not to gazette full set of regulations. That's it. The simple straight.
Allow me to cut you short for a while. When you talk about regulations, and of course you gave a good comparison between Western Kenya, who leads in, of course, alcohol consumption when you go by the Nakada statistics. But some of these problems, and back then it used to be quite a contentious discussion, and many to some extent blame the Nakada and of course this drug and the Mutuzo law, of course. One of them is heavy taxation that was imposed on liquor, and some opted for this cheap brew that end up, many people from the parts of Mount Kenya, of course, end up consuming this illicit brew, and such problem now began to emerge. Do you, in your own assessment, do you, of course, agree with these, let me call them allegations, because at the time you were on the top of the helm of Nakada, and some even blame you for, the impediment that you are seeing right now?
Let me say this thing about heavy taxation on alcohol as a deterrent is misinformed. You cannot sort out this problem by overtaxing the severized brewers. But the problem is that how sure are you that even those very big brewers are not producing alcohol? What is alcohol to me? Alcohol is anything which is produced under that potable spirit standard and which does not define exact purity of that ethanol. I don't want to go into details of that, but if you look at it very, very carefully, you really sympathize with Kenyans. How?
Right. It seems like we have lost there some connection, but you are talking about a very important issue here that we need to discuss, and now this is where we shift focus to the real problem that is facing, of course, Mount Kenya, that has caught the attention of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, and now holding a crisis meeting in an effort to avert this crisis. And do you think these efforts now that and the initiatives that are being played right now will actually solve this issue?
Really?
And of course, do you think we'll solve this issue? You know, now the initiative to eradicate.
Yes, we can solve. If we all come honestly and with clean hands, we will solve this problem. So personally, if I was to be at the helm there again, 6 months is not more than enough to sort out this mess. It's a simple truth. If you understand the logistics of it, just like a computer guru would understand the logs and what have you, I will sort out this mess.
President Rigathi Gachagua has today consulted.
Well, of course, we apologize for that mix-up, but you have spoken about a very interesting things here, Mr. Mutudo. You say, like, if, of course, you are given 6 months, you'll solve this. I wonder how will you do this, because you're a man, of course, who you held such position, and what stopped you, of course, what stopped you then from doing what you want to do now?
I would say, referring to the last meeting, at the time when the Deputy President was addressing the crowd, the group, the officers, I was there, I witnessed, and one name popped up. Who is the chief distributor? Who is the chief distributor of these e-receipts? Who protects all these e-receipts? The person was named. I don't want to name them here because I don't want to go into useless legal battles. But the person is named, is known. And by coincidence, that happened to have been my boss. So how would you have a boss who is the principal distributor, and then have Mutudo here who is trying to bring sobriety? It is not possible. And I worked under very, very hard conditions most of the time. And to hire a police officer to go and do the raids with my own money. I was on a salary of 63,000 shillings on it. And there are days I could spend up to 100,000 shillings in a day doing those raids you saw, the popular Mutudo raids. So I will not try to point names and say who did this, who did that. All I'm saying, to a maximum of 6 months, given what is legally already in law, or what is already in place without even going back to the further reference to Parliament, we can solve this problem. But we must face it with honesty. We must remove the commercial element in those implementing supply suppression. And like I said earlier, supply suppression means cutting off. We still have the big chunk of regulatory mechanism that demand reduction we need to do.
All right. Now, from where you sit, of course, you are one, so in this seat, of course, I'll still keep on repeating on that. Tell me, help us to understand this. Why is, this, illicit brew, to be precise, is so rampant in Mount Kenya, of course? What is happening? What happened during, according to your statistics back then? What will say is the problem?
I said that the whole problem started in 1978-79. I had said it in previous interviews with yourself, but internet doesn't forget. So if anybody cares to check, we'll check. From 78 to 79, there was a policy, clandestine policy, to control the populations in central area. It's there. And this is something just close to genocide, because it is targeting a particular group of people who are around Mount Kenya. Unfortunately, we have had instances now in Caribbean land, we have had instances in Moreland and Kisii, just a few instances. But the truth be told, that all those people supplying that dangerous stuff originated from Naivasha. I represented Naivasha. So trust my word, trust my instinct, trust my feeling that these people are on contract, special contract, to undermine the populace in Mount Kenya area. That's a fact. And anybody who doubts that, let him come, invite us for an interview. I'll give detailed, shocking details about those people. Like one person, one of the people you see, you dance around all over now today here, who is in high levels and everywhere, dancing all over. In the parliament, the ninth parliament, specifically said that particular character should be prosecuted for the death of 113 people due to Kumikumi.
All right.
The man who investigated is still alive. Call him. When he was in charge, Mwiruri, the one who was in charge of Gatundu North, Kariuki Mwiruri. Call him, even after this show. Tell him to tell you what did they find out. How did the people die? It was put loud, clearly, it is there in parliamentary records, that a certain factory here, which is still here, being receiving honors, was responsible. It was not the Mkuru Ruben staff, no. It was from a separate thing. And then there was the others. Remember the plastics. You remember the sachets and all that. All these people are supposed to be somewhere in committee maximum prison. But because we glorify sin, because we glorify mess,
right.
Just like you are seeing the case of Shakahura, right. Kenyans have this bad habit that they think some people are made by lesser God and they have a right to die. Right. So let's begin there. Let's get this character. Who is this? Who killed 113 people in one go and several are wounded? Yeah, and still. For the
interest of time. For the interest of time, of course, you have mentioned, something that is worth, looking into. But now you say you will give shocking details. And for those who are watching you right now, just wondering, why wait for then? Why don't you just give us those shocking details right now and clear the air?
There is something which is called the right to reply.
All right.
I would like to give you the names in confidence, call them for an interview. I will come physically and face them, and I will call them murderers.
All right.
People who kill. Forget about Shakahora.
All right.
With you to the dead, look at this person who killed in one day 113 people. What have we done to that? We glorify them. They're even in parliament.
All right. Well, John Mutudo, of course, thank you so much for your time. We are running out of time. We wish we could have much time, of course, to have this discussion because it's of national interest and it's something that really need to be addressed sooner or later. That was John Mutudo, former NACADA, that is chairman, giving us his insight of what he thinks the problem is as far as the war against drug abuse is concerned, and to be precise, the heavy consumption of illicit brew in Mount Kenya. Well, we'll be heading direct to, of course, our sports that is up next, and to see what will happening in just a short while. All right, it's now time for sporty action. The Kenya Secondary School Sports Association national team, that is one games, entered day 3 at the Nova International School and Moi Girls High School in Eldoret, Uas and Gishu County, with basketball match up for both boys and girls. In the girls category, Butere Girls lost to Kaya Tui by 54-60, while Our Lady of Mercy trashed St. Joseph's Kitale Girls 71-43. In boys category, Dagoretti beat Lukenya 60-52, while Friends School Kamsinga defeated Thika High 63-43. The secondary school games, which began on Tuesday this week, will go on up to the end of 30th of April this month, that is the year 2023. Now switching gears to international action. The defending champions that in the Premier League, Manchester City, made light work of league leaders Arsenal after humiliating them 4-1 defeat at Etihad Stadium. The two goals from Kevin De Bruyne and goals each from John Stones and Erling Haaland put Arsenal to the sword and made Haaland the EPL record top scorers with 34 goals so far. Arsenal remain top of the league with 75 points, two above City, who have 2 games in hand. Elsewhere, Chelsea continue with their poor run of form after losing 2-0 to Brentford at Stamford Bridge, while in Spanish La Liga, Barcelona lost 2-1 to Rayo Vallecano.